I'm going to tell you a story, but the first thing you have to understand is time doesn't work the way you think it does. You can call me Oracle because I'm the one who's talking to you. Welcome to the call. Now I'm going to be picking back up on the Sanskrit of me learning Sanskrit. Specifically, I'm going to go back to verbs. So this is on page 70 of that book I downloaded. Verbs. In the previous lesson, we learned that there are three main types of Sanskrit verbs. Verbs like pasyati, nominal words like rama, and the third type that we'll study in the next lesson. Verbs are the core of the Sanskrit sentence. In fact, we can make a complete sentence with just a single verb, even though Lil Dims is still here and still trying to make stupid stuff come out of my mouth. Pasyanti, they see. Roots, stems, and endings. Let's start our discussion with some simple verbs. Nayanti, they lead. Nayasi, you lead. Nayami, I lead. Like nominals, verbs have two parts, a stem that carries the basic meaning of the verb and an ending that modifies the basic meaning. In the examples above, naya is a stem and has the basic sense of leading. By combining naya with endings like ti, nti, and ani, we create different kinds of verbs. But we can go deeper into this. Consider the verbs below. Naya plus nti is nayanti, they lead. Nesya plus nti is nasyanti, they will lead. Nayaya plus nti is nayayanti, they make someone lead. If we remove the nt ending, we see three different stems, naya, nesya, and nayaya. All of them have slightly different meanings, but all of them have to do with leading something, and all of them start with a similar sound. Thousands of years ago, the people who studied Sanskrit grammar thought about the words nayanti, nesyanti, and nayayanti and considered them deeply. They decided that all of these words share a common element, ni, from which all of these stems arise. Ni is called the verb root, just as flower stems grow from a shared root, verb stems grow from a verb root. The verb root is short, compact, and contains the basic meaning of the stems and verbs that grow from it. Ni plus naya, or ni to naya, to nayanti. Lead to they lead. Ni to nesya, to nesyanti. Lead to will lead, to they will lead. Ni to nayi, to nayayanti. Lead to make lead, to they make someone lead. Not all verbs have a clear and obvious root, but most verbs do. Creating new verb roots. Traditional grammar defines a list of around 2,000 verb roots, but Sanskrit also provides a way to create new verb roots from existing ones. These derived roots modify the root's basic meaning in some ways. For example, if we add I to a verb that means X, we create a new verb root that make parentheses someone do X. You can see some examples of this below. Ni plus ni to nayi is nayayanti. Lead to make lead. They make someone lead. Kar to kari to karayanti. Walk to make walk, to they make someone walk. Note that I causes the sounds in the root to change. These kinds of changes are common when we add sounds to verb roots. We can either create roots by using different nominal words. Mutra to mutrayati. Urine or pee to he pees. We will learn more about all these derived roots in a later lesson, but for now, let's focus on verb endings and the information they contain. Person. Generally, verb endings express 5 kinds of basic information. The first is the verb's person. I go, he goes, express the same idea, but each has a different perspective. The perspective is the person of the verb. Like English, Sanskrit has 3 persons. In the traditional Sanskrit order, we have the third person, nayati, someone leads, the second person, nayasi, you lead, and the first person, nayami, I lead. Number. The second kind of information is the verb's. After the person, we have the number. Second kind of information is the verb's number, which is the same idea as the nominal's number. As before, we have the singular, nayati, someone leads, the dual, nayata, the 2 of them lead, and the plural, nayanti, they all lead. Third, tense mood. The third kind of information is the verb's tense mood. A verb's tense is just the time period a verb refers to. Nayati, someone leads, nesyati, someone will lead, neta, someone will eventually lead, anayat, someone led, anaisit, someone recently led, ninaya, someone led long ago. And a verb's mood is the way the verb expresses that information. Nayet, someone might lead, nayatu, we command that someone may lead. Nayat, we hope that someone may lead. Anesyat, someone would lead or would have led. In Sanskrit, the two categories are usually combined, which is why we call them tense moods. Sanskrit has 10 different tense mood combinations, and you can see all 10 of them in the examples above. Prayoga. The fourth kind of information is the verbs prayoga. Prayoga is similar to what we call active voice and passive voice in English. In Sanskrit, we have kartari prayoga, agent usage, which is like the English active voice. Narakanma karoti, the man does work. Narasvapiti, the man sleeps. Karmani prayoga, object usage, which is like the English passive voice. Narena karma kriyate, work is being done by the man. And bhave prayoga, state of usage, which we use instead of karmani prayoga if the verb doesn't use an object. Bhave prayoga looks almost identical to karmani prayoga. Narene supyate, there's a man sleeping. There is sleeping by the man. The man sleeps. That's something I also know. That's an interesting. So in Narena sapyate, it literally translates to there is sleeping by the man, but it figuratively translates to the man sleeps. This is similar to the formation of questions in French, where there is a phrase, a set of like a phrase, est-ce que, which is used to begin most sentences, like most questions in French. However, est-ce que literally translates to "is it that?" But so that's something I always actually found it easy when I was learning French, is that I would always just automatically translate est-ce que to "is it that?" when I was forming questions. I always found it very helpful. So basically, that's essentially the difference between. Here's a good example of the difference between acquisition versus studying of a language. Studying the language is what makes me know narene sapyate means there is sleeping by the man, and acquiring it is knowing narene sapyate means the man sleeps. Para. The fifth kind of information is the verb para. Simply, some verb endings are called para, parasmai para, and some are called atmane para. The one that is a way to refer to this is the parasmai para is ramas karati, Rama walks, and the atmani para is ramo maniate, Rama thinks. For some roots, parasmai para and atmana para endings sometimes imply different meanings. Nara pakati, the man cooks, parentheses for others. Nara pakate, the man cooks, parentheses for himself. But often they don't have any major difference in meanings. We'll revisit para in a future lesson. All right, I'm sitting at about under 9 minutes, so take a quick look. All right, the next section is going to be on uninflected words. I'll do uninflected words and then I'll get stop before I get into prefixes. All right, so uninflected words. This would be on page 78 if you actually had the same textbook, which I technically am using only a web version of. So, uninflected words. Sanskrit sentences use three basic word types. Verbs like kosyati, nominals like rama, and a third category that we call uninflected words. For example, the word na, is an uninflected word. Gaja na kajgati, the elephant does not go. What does uninflected mean? In Sanskrit, we can change a word to express. In Sanskrit, we can change a word to express different meanings. Ni to nayanti, lead to they lead. The technical name for these kinds of word changes is inflection. Many Sanskrit words are inflected and many Sanskrit words are uninflected. Uninflected words can still be changed by sandhi, but otherwise they stay the same. Which means, in this case, uninflected has less to do with a specific emphasis in pronunciation, which is what it would mean in most discussions of inflection in terms of English, for example. But in terms of inflection versus uninflection in Sanskrit, it actually refers to how much that a word changes in reference to prefixes, suffixes, and sandhi. Uninflected words can still be changed by sandhi, but otherwise they always stay the same. For example, consider the examples below. In each sentence, the nominal and verb change, but the uninflected word na stays the same. Gajo na gakchati, the elephant does not go. Gaja na gamyata, the two elephants will not go. Gaja na gakchilu, the elephants might not go. Uninflected words are simple, so in this lesson, we will learn about a few different kinds of uninflected words. Ka. Oh, ka. Ka is the common uninflected word that means and. Notice how ka is used in the example below. Ramasita ka gakchata. Rama and sita go. Ramasita gajas ka gakchanti. Rama, Sita, and the elephants go. In English, we use the word and just before the last item in our list. Rama, Sita, and the elephants. But in Sanskrit, ka comes at the end of the list of items. Rama, Sita, gajas ka. We can use va, which means or, in the same way. Ah, that's right. So ka is and, va is or. Interesting thing about or and the fact that it uses va for or in Sanskrit. So in logic and K, which is German for natural something. I forget the exact word for it, but it's a specific kind of symbolic logic that I studied when I was at Tulane, and it used symbols for not, which was a tilde. It used a symbol for and, which is the ampersand, which like everyone knows more or less, and for or it used a V. So I think that's funny. Also, in particular, I find that interesting for V because of Vasra being like the mark of the Vasra being the mark of the X or the mark of the crossroads. It's something that people would sign in place of their. I'm pretty sure that they would like sign in place of their Hastakin, in place of their like signature. Anyway, and that also starts with a B. I just find that interesting because crossroads inherently imply an or and not an and sort of choice situation. We can also repeat ka to say both and va to say either or. Here are examples. Ramas ka sita ka gachata. Both Rama and Sita go. Rama va sita va gachati. Either Rama or Sita goes. In an earlier lesson, we learned that Sanskrit word order is very flexible, but it is not completely flexible. Specifically, ka and va cannot appear at the start of a sentence. This means that the example sentence below is not correct Sanskrit. Ka, Rama, Sita, gachata. Saha and vina. All right, so saha is with and vina is without. We can also use uninflected words to modify the basic sense of another word. For example, there is a nominal case that usually means by means of. Rama gajena nagaram gachati. Rama goes to the city by means of an elephant. Do you remember what we call this case? We call it case 3. I remember it was one of those cases. I don't remember the specific ones. If we use this uninflected word saha or vina with a case 3 word, we can refine the basic sense that case 3 expresses. Rama gajena saha nagaram gachati. Rama goes to the city with an elephant. Rama gajena vina nagaram gachati. Rama goes to the city without an elephant. Saha and vina usually follow the word they modify, as opposed to going before. The final. Okay, cool. We're almost there at the review. And we're like under 15 minutes so far, so that's good. As a final example, we can add the suffix tva to a verb root if the root means x, the result meaning having done x or after doing x. Here are some examples. Ni tva, lead to having led. Kar tva, do, make, to having done or made. These new words are used like verbs. In the examples below, the following 2 sentences are simple, and the third one uses the tva ending to create a more complex sentence. Rama nagaram gachati. Rama goes to the city. Rama sitam pasyati. Rama sees Sita. Rama nagaram gata sitam pasyati. Rama, after going to the city, sees Sita. And then we get to the review, and then we're into prefixes, and that's a whole, 12 pages that you all just did with me. Cool. Good for y'all. sticking it out with me while I do my learning my proper Sanskrit grammar. This is Oracle, Zakun as it were. Now you got some skirtum anubhavata, that's to say, that's to be. Sanskrit experience that you acquire through and with me. So to say, Zakuna Saha with Oracle May, and that would be to say, to be. Talk to you later from Oracle May.